Oh, hold on. Oh, wait. Yeah, you can sit here. Thank you. Nice to meet you, Giselle. So, good evening, Huddle. Nah, y'all gotta come with more energy. Good evening, Huddle. That's what I like to hear. So, first off, big happy birthday to Mr. Spike Lee. We all love you. And shout out to everybody who came to our 9th year of Huddle anniversary last week on Monday. We seen y'all. We definitely partied last week, but this Monday we back to the schedule. I'm happy to be back with you guys. We're gonna enjoy today. So now I would like to kick it off with our co-liaison, Katrina Jefferson, for our opening prayer and scripture. Clap it up, everybody. No kitty today. She's sleepy. Ooh.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Tonight's scripture comes from Psalms 51, verses 1 through 14, and this is the NIV version. Have mercy on me, O God, according to your unfailing love. According to your great compassion, blot out my transgressions. Wash away all my iniquity and cleanse me from my sin. For I know my transgressions, and my sin is always before me. Against you, you only, have I sinned and done what is evil in your sight. So you are right in your verdict and justified when you judge. Surely I was sinful at birth, sinful from the time my mother conceived me. Yet you desired faithfulness even in the womb. You taught me wisdom in that secret place. Cleanse me with hyssop, and I will be clean. Wash me, and I will be whiter than snow. Let me hear joy and gladness. Let the bones you have crushed rejoice. Hide your face from my sins and blot out all my iniquity. Create in me a pure heart, O God, and renew a steadfast spirit within me. Do not cast me from your presence or take your Holy Spirit from me. Restore to me the joy of your salvation and grant me a willing spirit to sustain me. Then I will teach transgressors your ways so that sinners will turn back to you. Deliver me from the guilt of bloodshed, O God, you who are God, my Savior, and my tongue will sing of your righteousness. Again, that is from Psalms 51, verses 1 through 14. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. God, we thank you for this hour, for this time of huddling together. God, we ask that you touch each and every young person that is here tonight, each and every adult that is standing in place for a young person that is in their life. God, touch them from the crowns of their head to the soles of their feet. God, blessing everything that their hand touches. God, we say a special prayer for our leader. God, that you would continue to equip him and continue to send the support and resources so that we can further your work on this earth within the civil rights and social justice arena. God, we ask that you touch everybody that is in transit tonight, God, that you would give them traveling mercies and bless everybody with traveling mercies that is here tonight as we depart. It's in your name we pray, God. Clear our hearts, our minds, our spirits, so that we would receive whatever word is in place for us on tonight through this huddle experience. In your name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Katrina. So now I would like to invite our co-founder and national director, Dominique Sharpton, to give us our action alerts.
Good evening, everyone. So for those of you who came to the rally on Saturday, this past Saturday, or if you came early tonight, we replayed the press conference from this past Saturday's action rally where we were joined by the family of Tyree Nichols. There's a recent progress, I think. Well, not progress, but there was a recent incident, I would say, that happened in the case. The lieutenant who was over the department in which the Memphis police that therefore killed Tyree Nichols. So that lieutenant actually resigned the day before the investigation was supposed to take place, determining, of course, whether this person was going to be terminated from their position and therefore lose their benefits and their pension, et cetera. And this person decided to actually resign before the investigation, was able to take place. And so the family are, really, trying to fight for justice for their loved one. We know that, of course, the officers who were involved in the beating have all been charged and will be tried. But there were a lot of moving parts as to how the family were even informed that Tyree had been beaten and therefore in the hospital, or that an incident even occurred. So there's a lot of moving parts to what actually happened, and the aftermath after the incident happened, how the family was treated and handled, and how the situation was handled in terms of informing the family and respecting Brother Tyree Nichols and his rights. And so with that said, there's a lot happening from, EMTs being fired to other police officers who were, bystanders that were watching what happened and didn't say anything. So there's a process to this. And the fact that this lieutenant stepped down or resigned in order to not undergo investigation or not undergo any official accountability for his actions involved in the situation, I think speaks volumes, of course, to, the dynamics of what we're dealing with today, and, the fight for justice of what we do and how important our work is. The fact that that family, was able to come to the House of Justice in order to cry out and to speak out against how they were feeling in this matter, that really caught international attention. Like, people all over the world knows about what happened to Tyree Nichols, have demonstrated and spoken out against it. And for them to come to the House of Justice, really just speaks to who we are, what National Action Network is doing, and how we have, really become that voice for the voiceless, and we've really become that staple place where people from all over the world know they can come to when they need help, and know where they can come to when they are in their time of need. So we were joined by the family on Saturday, and of course the fight for justice and equality as it relates to passing legislation like the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act and other pieces of legislation that we know we really need, to really happen. We're fighting for, and we're also going to continue to stand with the family of Tyree Nichols. They appeared on Reverend Sharpton's show, Politics Nation, and like I said, they joined us in person here at the House of Justice. And we're going to, stay with them and continue to stand with them, because we know that they need us, and they need, they need justice for Tyree. So we're all for that. We were also joined by the Fire Department Commissioner for the City of New York, the first female to be appointed in this position. So it's a historic measure, of course, for her to come to the House of Justice and to really lay out the fact that, she's a female in this position for the first time, but understanding that safety is a very important issue in this city. And just to have her come by the House of Justice to show us that, she's here, and the community needs to have that relationship with those who are in authority to make decisions. So it was great to have her come by the House of Justice on Saturday. And as always, you've got to be in the House to know what's going on. So those of you who missed the Saturday Action Rally, please plan to come to the rallies, because you just never know who's going to walk through the doors of the House of Justice on a given Saturday. And we've been also supporting Women's History Month. So the Women's Auxiliary have been presenting a very phenomenal Women's History Month segment every Saturday during the month of March. They've also been wearing theme colors that we've been supporting throughout the month at the Saturday Action Rally. And this Saturday, if those of you who want to support the Women's Auxiliary and wear their theme colors, this Saturday is going to be black with kente. So all black with kente. That's going to be the theme colors for this Saturday rally to support our Women's Auxiliary. And they're having the Women of Excellence and Men of Vision Awards that's going to be taking place here at the House of Justice on Saturday. Some of our very own, very esteemed and honorable members will be honored. Does someone want to come up and talk about that? Who's going to be honored with amongst us? Lisa Gozi Harps is coming on down. The president of the Women's Auxiliary is in the house to talk to us more about that very briefly. And while she's coming down, if you have not registered for the convention, April 12th through the 15th, we're going to be at the Sheraton again for a phenomenal convention. It's going to be an amazing convention. Those of you who were able to go on the website, the full schedule has been released. So you can now see what's happening from day to day, from Wednesday all the way through Saturday at the convention, and it's free. So make sure you tell your friends, your family members to register and to sign up, because it is free to attend, but you have to register. You can register online, or you can call us here at the House of Justice and register. Sister Lisa Goldie Harps, can you tell us more about the Women's Auxiliaries Women of Excellence Awards and Men of Vision Awards happening on Saturday?
Hello, everyone. My name is Lisa Goldie Harps. I am the president of the Women Auxiliary under the leadership of Kathy Jordan Sharpton. Give it up, y'all. Come on now. And one of our honorees is in the back. Mother Sarah Clark is one of our honorees. Dottie Golson from the membership committee is one of our honorees. Give it up, y'all. Marianne Parkins from the Women Auxiliary is one of our honorees. Mr. Thomas Cartwell is one of our honorees from the Men's Auxiliary. Megan Butley from the Women Auxiliary and the NAN Huddle. Michael Ivory is from, I'm trying to think of her name, Vanessa Gibson's office. All right, that's one of our honorees. Kenita Lloyd, one of our former NAN employees, she's one of our honorees. And Dre Baker from the auxiliary, from the Guardians. And Reginald Spencer is one of our honorees too, okay? Those are our honorees for the Women of Excellent Man of Vision Award. And I just want to tell everybody, we are sold out.
Sold out, but you can, if you like to give a donation, or if you like more information about the Women's Auxiliary, you can see one of the members of the Women's Auxiliary. They are very prominent here at Huddle because they are our hospitality, and they serve us dinner every Monday evening. So thank you so much to the women of the Women's Auxiliary. Excuse me. And like I said, make sure y'all register for the convention. Like I said, there was a full schedule that's been released on the website, so you can see all of the amazing people that's going to be joining us, from Tyler Perry to Kerry Washington, Hill Harper, Robert Smith, the billionaire, the richest black man in America, is going to be joining us. Magic Johnson, so many people will be joining us, but we want to make sure that you register. All right. One more thing. Wanted to make sure that everyone's just aware of what's happening, what's at stake right now, dealing with the student loan forgiveness. Many of you know that Felivi Dosa and Ousmane Diallo, some of our ladies, I'm talking. I won't be before you too much longer. Ousmane Diallo and Felivi Dosa spoke with us. Well, Ousmane spoke with us about it last week, but they spoke with us about this a few weeks ago. They were in D.C. Organizing actions around student loan forgiveness and around what's happening, what's going to take place, and what's already taken place from the Biden administration around student loan forgiveness. Some of the key points we should be aware of is, if indeed President Joe Biden's student loan forgiveness plan survives the Supreme Court, around 14 million people could see their balances entirely cleared. So that's really, really good. Meanwhile, closer to 37 million people would get a portion of their debt forgiven. So that's also very good. And lastly, the country's outstanding student loan balance could drop to $1.3 trillion from 1.7. So lots to be concerned about. And like I said, our national leaders, our youth leaders are on the case. Sister Giselle even went down to demonstrate around student loan forgiveness, and we'll stay tuned to what's going on and stay involved. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Dominique Sharpton. Now, I would like to invite my youth huddlers up, Gino and Kaylee, for our Black History Fact of the Day.
Hi, everyone. So, the Black History Fact is about Ida B. Wells, how she died at 62 years old. The Chicago Daily News reporter Frank L. Hayes gave the famed civil rights activist and journalist a pauper obituary.
When the South became dangerous for Ida B. Wells, she headed to Chicago and continued her crusade.
On March 25, 1931, civil rights activist and journalist Ida B. Wells Barnett died in Chicago. During her career, she documented lynchings in the South, championed universal suffrage, and published dozens of articles and pamphlets denouncing racism, classism, and misogyny. And yet, Chicago Daily News reporters who wrote so little about Wells Barnett during her lifetime. From 1903, when her name first appears in print, to the time of her death, Wells Barnett name only popped up in short blurs, informing the public about upcoming lectures of new committees and clubs Wells Barnett would join or lead. No one wrote a profile on the busy activist or saw her reactions to the news of the day.
Hayes cited Wells Barnett as one of the early advocates of racial equality, nothing her long history of activism, both stateside and abroad. Her passing closed a full career, he said.
Born in Mississippi in 1862, Wells Barnett moved to Memphis as an adult and worked as the editor of the Memphis Free Speech, where she reported on lynchings. Hayes wrote that storming incidents during her editorships of the paper in 1892 had much to do with arising her lifelong passion against lynching, and she received death threats for her anti-lynching reports and editors. When the South became too dangerous for her, the civil rights activist headed to Chicago about World's Fair time. Hayes said and continued her crusade. In fact, her admirers credited her as the main reason that Illinois had not seen one single lynching since her arrival.
Miss Burnett went before Charles S. Deneen in 1919 when he was governor and asked him to refuse resentment reinstatement to a sheriff of Alexander County who had failed to prevent lynching of a black person there. After hearing a testimony, Dean refused reinstatement to the sheriff, Hayes wrote. The message became clear to the sheriffs statewide: either enforce anti-lynching laws or lose your job.
Her influence extended beyond Illinois. Wells Barnett's anti-lynching lectures in England were said to have influenced the formation of an anti-lynching committee headed by the Duke of Argyll, Hayes said. Wells Barnett also supported universal suffrage and launched a number of young people's clubs and women's clubs, including the first women's club for black women, he said. Many of the clubs expanded to other cities and the Colored Cities Federation of Women's Clubs grew out the Black Women's Club in Chicago.
While her campaigns for civil rights never increased, Wells Barnett led an active personal life. In 1895, she married lawyer and activist Ferdinand Lee Barnett Sr., a man Hayes described as probably the first black person to hold an important public office in Chicago. Served as an assistant state's attorney during Deneen administration. Together, the two had 4 children plus 2 sons from Barnett's previous marriage. Wells Barnett received a proper send-off from her community, and the following Monday at the community center church, where she was a teacher and social worker, Hayes wrote.
Thank you, my youth huddlers. So now that they gave us the amazing Black History fact, I would like to call up Mr. Daniel for our Artivism segment. Clap it up for Mr. Daniel.
Salutations, Youth Huddle. How are we feeling tonight? Salutations. What's going on? Is everybody energized for Women's Month? Month of March. Amen. All right, well, realizing that we're getting the music going, thank you all for being here. It is a blessing to be here on another Huddle Monday after the Huddleversary, led by these 2 distinguished ladies, Ashley and Dominique. Shout out to y'all. I salute y'all. Thank y'all so much for carrying the torch and the legacy for National Action Network in such an eloquent way. So we're going to segue into some music. It's a mix. It's a familiar song you may be familiar with some of the rhythms and the melodies. So I want to perform a little bit to the song, and we want to uplift our women through it all. When it all falls down.
Baby. I'm telling you.
We're gonna clap. Soul clap. When it all falls down.
West side, west side. We gon' set this party alright. The concept of school seems so secure. Sophomore 3 years, ain't picked a career.
Shout out to all our college students. All our college students at the HBCU. Historically Black. HBCU. In your education, we salute you. Thank you.
Then she cut it all off. And she be dealing with some issues that you can't believe.
All of our women dealing with those issues, we uplift them. All of our women, we support you. All right? We're thinking of you. We're praying for you. We're praying for our leaders in the civil rights movement, our leaders in social justice.
When it all
Creative way.
falls down, all falls down.
All falls down.
Man, I promise.
Gotta get up.
When it
Gotta
all
get up. When it all falls down. Gotta get up. When it all falls down. So hold your family together. Commune with the community. Be involved. Be inspired. Educate yourself so we can mobilize, utilize our agility and mobility to achieve that which we are out to conquer. Amen.
Thank you, Dan, for your mix. So, down to business. Is everybody an updated member for the year of 2023? I'm not seeing too many hands. I don't like that. Have you renewed your membership for the ones who raised their hands? All right now, I like that, I like that. If not, this applies to you as well as those who are not members. The best way to stay informed and end the action is to become a member of NAN. Stay informed about NAN events close to where you live. Text Justice followed by your state to 59769. Again, text Justice followed by your state to 59769. Energized reminder to join us at the Saturday Action Rally every Saturday at 9 a.m. No later than that. So, now that we got that out the way, I'm gonna open the floor up to good news. Before I start that, I would like to introduce our new huddler. She's gonna come up here and introduce her name.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is, I'm Edge the Designer. I'm a designer. I started like 2 months ago, and I'm gonna be a part of your program. Thank you. Oh, my name is Jade Reese, though. Yeah, but if you see me around, I'm Edge the Designer, okay? Word.
Thank you.
I know that invited me, by the way.
I need to hear some more clapping, like y'all gotta, yeah. Welcome her into the huddle, guys. All right, so now we're gonna open the floor up to any good news. Gino, it looked like you got some good news.
I didn't just get my report card, but I got it like 2 weeks ago. My average is at 83, but for my fourth market period, I'm trying to get it up to like a good 98, 195.
In my class, we're working on morphology, and we have a test, and I think I'm gonna pass it.
Tomorrow, my teacher will be at school.
That's his good news. That's his good news, his great news.
That's good news. That means he wants to learn. That's good. Hi, so I'm Ashley. I'm the chair huddle. I have like 3 announcements. Sorry. So first, our last announcement, I'm going to end with Miss Gina Williams. It's big news, and I'm excited about it. But first, thank you to everyone who came to the Huddleversary Gala last Monday. It was fun. We had some fun in here, and Gina has some surprise proclamations and awards for us that are special for those who are awarded our special honorees for that evening. Trey is not here, but I think everybody else is tonight. Also, 2 things. So this past weekend, this past Friday, I went to a conference. In my off time, I work with Supreme. I help. I'm learning production, but I also help with administration. But I went to a conference, and we worked at Columbia University at Teachers College, and it was called Off School Grounds. It was OSG. It was their first conference called for Transformational Leadership. It was dope. It was fire. It was basically hundreds of teachers and principals and administrators that work in the school that basically are convened by a man named Coach McKissy. And basically, he convenes them and they talk about issues that's important to the educational system, but it's from the leaders of it. So that's basically that. I never heard of it, but I thought it was amazing and incredible because it's like you have the people that's right there in charge of basically all these schools, and they're meeting and coming together to solve problems in the system. I think it was incredible. It was black and brown faces everywhere, and it was at Columbia Teachers College. So I just thought it was dope. I wanted to make a partnership with them. They're interested through JT. They're interested, and I'm just looking forward to that. It was just a dope opportunity, and those who work in the educational field, you should definitely look up Off School Grounds and try to work with them. That's the first thing. Second thing, young people, good, let's pay attention. The second thing is, it is Women's History Month, so we're gonna be doing something. Of course, we're supporting the Women's Auxiliary. Everyone should be supporting them this Saturday, but we're gonna be doing something online, virtually with Big NAN, with the NAN National Umbrella, with some of our NAN female leadership. So I just want you guys to look out for that. That's coming. And also, of course, I want to remind you for convention. Convention, when is Youth and College Day during convention? Just yell it out. Saturday. All right. So we're excited about convention, but of course, NAN Youth Huddles Day is on Saturday. Our leadership will be all throughout the panels. We want you to be there, leading the way, helping to guide those. Everyone comes from around the nation for convention. So it's a lot of people there, a lot of people that's excited, but this is our turf. New York City, this is what we do every Monday. So we want you to be there to welcome the other young people that's there, the other young adults, and just everyone that's there on Saturday. Come in good spirits. Of course, our volunteers will be on deck, but we want you all to be present. We want you all to have your NAN shirts on. So if you see Inola Tucker in the building, make sure you go and find out how you can raise your hand, Inola, in the blue. Make sure you raise your hand. Make sure you go to her, get your shirt, get your merchandise, get your button, so that you're representing, that people know that you distinguish that you are a NAN member and that you are, as they said on Saturday, a NAN ambassador. So they know who you are, I can identify you, and you can help them, okay? So just make sure you're there, NAN Youth and College Day. If you have young people in your life, bring them. Register them for convention. You can pull it up right on your phones. Everybody has a smartphone. Everybody has access to a laptop or some kind of, to get online. Register at nationalactionnetwork.net. Look at the schedule. Look at the schedule, the full schedule, not the whole full schedule is not up, but look at it to see basically what panels you're interested in, what topics you're interested in, so make sure you have a seat. Now, don't come looking and say, actually, I need a seat because I wasn't. If you're late on time, make sure you register, make sure you're there, make sure you're present, because convention, we're all working, and I don't want you to say Ashley was mean, because half the time we're getting cussed out, because it's crazy. So make sure you're prepared, you're ready, you know what's going on, and that you are there for Youth and College Day, young people, and that you bring your young people for that day. Of course, we're ending with the fashion show. We are supposed to have castings this weekend at 1 o'clock, so look out for that, for those who are interested in performing, models, designers, and talent. All right? All right. We're going to bring up Gina Williams. Let's clap her up. She is Gino. Where's Gino? Well, this is Gino's mommy. She's also a former staffer, and she works in the Bronx with Jumani Williams. Let's clap her up.
Thanks. Okay, so this is, I'm sorry, I'm on a Zoom because I was running for a special education committee for the citywide. So I'm not being disrespectful. I'm just staying in active footsteps, intentional purpose. Women's History Month is extremely important because without a woman, none of us would be here, right? And so over the year and a couple of months in the corporate office and coming back and forth to House of Justice, I have seen some amazing women work. I mean work. Not complaining, just doing the work, and together as a team. And that's what keeps NAN going. That's what keeps NAN going. Reverend Sharpton depends on his ambassadors. He depends on us in more ways than what you would know. And he appreciates all, okay? So I just wanted to, and I do have more coming later, but I couldn't get them all at one time. but there are some of us that we're here and we're here. There are some of us that are here with a purpose. There are some of us that are here with a purpose and the footsteps to action. So I'm going to say this, like Reverend Al Sharpton said it Saturday, he said it the best. There are baton twirlers. That's not me. There are people who pass the ball and they run for the goal because that is the objective. That would be me. I could pass it, I could throw it, we can share it as long as we get to the goal. The goal is for us to keep fighting towards equality, for education, for equity, for civil rights, for social justice, and for economy. So we all have the right to thrive and to live. We're all 100% human beings. So on that note, where is the National Action Network Coordinator, the House of Justice, Katrina Jefferson? This citation is for her from the Public Advocate's Office. And her trusty sidekick, Patrice Perry, who works so hard going back and forth. This is my sister from another mother because, yeah, we love each other unconditionally. We just get on each other's nerves, as we should, because that's what family does. Okay? Right? Absolutely. Okay. And now there's a person that walks through here and she brightens up the room and she has a little gold tint to her. And she works very hard with Kathy Sharpton. Goldie, will you please come to the podium? Take your time, we're not in a hurry. Thank you for all your service. I believe that people should get their flowers and be acknowledged while they're alive, and they can appreciate it. So we have a senior scheduler at the corporate office, Rebecca Sanford. And Patrice, would you be kind enough to give this to Rebecca for me? Thank you. And we have a newcomer that came on for our HR department, April Facey. I love April because she is just so honest and she is a ray of light and she has intentional purpose footsteps, okay? And I just appreciate her and all that she does. And I spoke to her and she said that, yeah. So next up, we have two wonderful sisters. They're the Sharpton sisters. We have the eldest and the youngest. And I consider them like my little sisters as well. And I also consider them to be mentors as well. So they're sisters to all of us. Dominique Sharpton. From the Public Advocate himself. And next, I don't have favorites, but I did meet Ashley first. And she is a dynamo. And you guys have a lot in common. And I will tell you, I love that first episode. I think to me was one of my all-time favorites with you and your dad, both of you together. I didn't know all of that about you guys, but it was funny to see, you know, how genuine the family ties and the love is, and I thought that that was like extra special. Thank you very much, Ashley Sharpton. And so, I'm not gonna say last, and I'm definitely not gonna say least. But I do remember when Patrice was saying at Huddle, she never saw anyone beat their face and drive and do all the many things that she does. But I will say this much. When we have the choir and Mama Cat is out here leading the way. She is the mother to all of us, the huddle, to Ashley and Dominique. And I see where they get their stride, their walk, and how they are phenomenal women because of this phenomenal woman right here, Kathy Sharpton. Thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. And I have one more standing here with me. You're welcome. This is quite touching for me right now and emotional because my niece Giselle came here with me, and I said, oh, you're going to come with me to NAN. You're going to come with me to Huddle. She was like, no. I was like, yeah, come on, just one time. She came, and she hasn't turned away. And she has blossomed. She has matured. She has grown. She has displayed leadership skills. She leads this huddle right now. She is a phenomenal young woman, and we have to let our youth know that. So, Giselle Barnett, this is on behalf of the public. And I love you so much. Oh, by the way, that's my niece, in case you didn't know. All right, and that concludes that. Yeah. All right, thank you. Oh, wait, I do have one more thing. So Ashley did make mention. So I'm not at the corporate office anymore because I had gone on to the public advocate. But while I was at the corporate office, I'm going to tell you, I learned a lot, and Reverend Sharpton has sharpened my toolkit. He has sharpened my toolkit for me to be where I'm at now. And I will forever be so thankful because he is the frontline warrior for all of us. He leads the way, and as he stood on people's shoulders, he allows us to stand on his. And I just want to say, I am never leaving NAN. So you guys should already know that, and you know that my passion is education above all. So we got a lot of work to do, and we're going to keep fighting a good fight. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gina, my lovely.
Where's our coordinator to the House of Justice, Katrina Jefferson? You weren't here when I called your name before. And thank you so much for all that you do, all that you do. I started with you first because I know what you're doing now, working on the convention. Yes, and doing an excellent job.
Thank you. I'm so happy right now. I'm so extremely excited. Well, any other good news from anybody? My good news is what I just received today from my auntie, you know. Love you so much.
Hello. Y'all know me, Emerald. My good news is that, come on, y'all, stand up. You know, put y'all on blast, so let's talk about she don't feel good today. She'll be all right. But my good news is I'm sharing this moment with Alyssa and Kaylee because they got in trouble earlier today. So, you know, we family, so I'm going to let y'all know. Yes, they got in trouble today, but I want them to be reassured that I see y'all, I'm proud of y'all, and I want y'all to know I discipline with love, very loud, but it's okay. Because when we come to places like this, y'all have extra people to talk to, other people to talk to. Our family is growing. I want y'all to keep going, stay positive, you know. Do your chores. You won't get yelled at. But I just wanted to say that it's very hard parenting, you know? It's hard. I'm stressed out a little bit. But I do want to take this moment, because I'm always putting them on blast for other stuff. But I'm putting them on blast for this because I feel like it's very important to highlight the good stuff, because they get in trouble at home, but I want them to be praised in public. So I'm taking this moment to put y'all on blast. Thank y'all for all y'all do. Keep up the good work. And Alyssa, you will get your phone back soon, so you can fix your face. Thank you.
Well, good evening, Huddle. Talk about surprises and things that happen. Today I found out that there is a United States of America religious archives. And what happened was the United States Religious Archives formed a LGBT section. Yeah, yeah. And in creating that section, there are now 3 of us that are in the United States of America Religious Archives. The first person was Reverend Troy D. Perry out of Los Angeles, California, that started Metropolitan Community Church when we were back here on the East Coast out in the streets with Stonewall. The second person that is now archived is Reverend Archbishop Carl Beam, who started Unity Fellowship Churches of Christ for the colored community. Yes. And the third person is yours truly. And they have it as Reverend Crone Goddess Magora Kennedy. So that's my good news. And truly I was kind of shocked, because I'll tell you, I've been in white churches, black churches, I got thrown out of more churches than you can shake a stick at, but we stayed the course and continued and would not take back, not take down. And once I was out of the closet, I tell everybody, I am the gayest great-great-grandmother out the closet.
Y'all got it for today's good news. Y'all made me happy. All right, so we're going to start off with the Did You Knows, because you may have not known. We got 6 today, so we're going to get on with it. So first, I would like to call up Miss Ashley Sharpton. Clap it up for Miss Ash.
Okay, hello again. Who was here this Saturday at the Action Rally, the weekly Action Rally? All right. So who was our special guest related to police reform or police brutality? Gino. The parents of Tyree Nichols, exactly. Perfect. So this will be a brief article. This is just an update about basically why they were here and what's going on with the case. A high-ranking Memphis police officer on duty at the scene of the beating that would end Tyree Nichols' life retired 1 day before he was expected to be fired, according to Memphis City Council Vice Chairman J.B. Smiley Jr. We're accountable to the people who pay taxes, Smiley told ABC News, and if we're wronging the people who pay taxes, we shouldn't be allowed to receive dollars that are ultimately theirs. We call for Memphis police and officials to do everything in their power to hold Lieutenant Smith and all of those involved fully accountable, and not allow Lieutenant Smith to cowardly sidestep the consequences of his actions. The Nichols family's attorney said in a statement, this has been Crump, his cowardice in resigning and not facing his own disciplinary board to defend himself is not an end around on accountability or reckoning. The mother and stepfather of Nichols, Rovon Wells and Rodney Wells, spoke alongside Ben Crump, who leads their legal team, and Reverend Al Sharpton at the National Action Network House of Justice in Harlem this past Saturday. In my heart, I just feel like my son, he had to be sacrificed for the greater good, Rovon said through tears. That's the only explanation that I have as the reason why all this is happening. Because he was such a good person, he was a free-spirited person. Crump supported Rovon Wells' belief that her son was sent to this world on an assignment. She's got to believe some greater good is going to come from this, Crump said. All these families joining Tyree Nichols' family, we're finally going to get the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act passed so we can try to prevent some of these unnecessary, these unjustifiable, and unconstitutional killings of our people. When reached by ABC News in a phone call, Lieutenant Smith declined to comment. So with that said, we're still pushing for the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. But this huddle, every Did You Know, we have 6. Every Did You Know is basically action-based or solution-based. So while this is going on, I want you all to think in your mind, mainly the young people, right? We live on social media. A lot of y'all live on social media, watch it all the time. If there is a campaign that we can create to basically keep Tyre Nichols' name in our young people's mouths, to keep them in their hearts, but also to keep updates happening. So this man who's responsible just stepped down and will be getting basically his pension and his pay because he basically knew the strategy. And instead of dealing with the consequences, Tyre Nichols' family have to wait and deal with whatever is gonna happen and deal with the loss of this. His mother literally broke down while sharing the story once more again this Saturday. It was crazy. And basically the police is moving on. So is there a way that we can keep this issue of police reform and Tyre Nichols' name at the forefront for your generation? We got the George, and also the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. Y'all need to know what that is, what that entails, and how you all can be a part of how it impacts you. So if there are any ideas to keep this information in the forefront. Kaylee.
Maybe to deal with the policing, like the police information, like how you said the police, he like resigned from his job. They should have took away his pay because he was not supposed to kill somebody in that policing act. I understand if you're arresting somebody, but literally killing somebody, beating them to death is not okay.
That's right. Anybody have an idea? Come on, designer. Come on, I'm good.
But yeah, I feel like for young people, everything's on the phone. So like definitely TikTok, maybe even put it in the convention, like on fashion, name, like his face. I feel like that would be a good way to tie it together, yeah.
Right, that's a good idea. So some kind of fashion. Can we have a note taker tonight since we're doing all the actions? Anybody volunteer to take notes? I need somebody to volunteer to take notes. Somebody that can read and write. Nobody? No adults want to help me take notes? Patrice, you got it? Or Gina? Come on, Gina.
I agree with you. I think it should have pages of recent things that happen in the city, like not even just in New York or out of the city, even though what the cops is doing to young people and older people, they shouldn't get their pay, even if their chief have to fire them, they shouldn't still get their pay or the pay that they have to get from whatever they did on their job. Yeah.
Thank you, G. Giselle.
So I feel like that we should really huddle up, and I'm not talking about the huddle. I'm talking about bring her idea. We could mix it with multiple other people that's our age. Well, she's 22, but she doesn't even look 22, right? But she's still young, and this still affects her. So people she looks young, and she's a designer. We could bring her ideas, huddle up with more teenagers. I could bring in some more teenagers, see how they feeling. But we need kids our age that really cares, that's really gonna step up and be a loudmouth, that's gonna help and huddle up to really put this on social media. We could advertise look at what they did to Tyre Nichols. Why is this guy that killed him is getting off safely with pay? We should really go for these elected officials next. Hand it to them straight, kids my age, because that's how they're gonna realize, oh, not only does the older generation care, the Gen Z cares too. We care, and we have to show that we care. And if any teenagers is watching this right now, if any of my friends is watching this right now, come to Huddle so we can make ideas right now. Right now, yesterday.
No, wait, stand there. So I'm gonna challenge you right here, and I'm gonna challenge. It's 5 of y'all? Okay, and you too, EJ. Everybody in here, because everybody in here knows a young person, right? So basically what you said it was basically merchandise. and yours is kind of content. So why I challenge y'all, right? If we always talked about TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, right? Why don't we create content, social justice related content, related to issues? So if we do Tyree Nichols, we can do a TikTok video around Tyree Nichols and about information about what that was. Or we can do a Black History video about basically who Ida B. Wells is, right? So what I want you guys to do is get your friends. I know everybody's has a phone. People makes content literally while they're in class. Your friends that are good at that, or creative or anything, I challenge you to just bring them for that. Just say, we want you to help us make content. If the content is good enough, they'll get a cash prize. Okay? Okay? You all too. If you all have young people in your lives who create content, and it's just for that, it could be, you could come in with your shirt next week. If somebody can purchase it and wear it, then that's content. But if you know somebody who can create content creation online, not in person, but online, but also for skits, because we need people to create what it is or how it's supposed to look. Any of that, bring them in next week so we can create this. So we can just create this campaign and start doing this, because it's big. It's beyond Tyree Nichols. All the issues that we talk about, we can be pushing out issues every week online, and translating that into views and more people, reaching more people than we're doing right now. Okay? So is that a deal? All right. Yes, come on.
Maybe if you guys could like also host like an event here and bring in all the young kids, like talent show.
We do that for convention.
Okay, yeah, for sure. Okay.
You gotta pull up.
Yeah.
April 15th. Yeah. She said have a show, and I was like, we have that for the convention in Artivism. So I told her to pull up. Dan.
I'm thinking it would be great to see stuff like this being questioned on the ballot, the voter ballots, our local election voter ballots, because I feel like it's such a highly anticipated subject year after year after year because of all the incidences of over-policing that we're encountering in our society. To take it real seriously and step it up a notch, it would be interesting to look at the results of polling of votes from a campaign that's focused on whether or not these police officers should receive all of their benefit packages when in fact their ill will compromises their ability to serve. So I feel as though it would be cool to see audio-visual, something hypothetical, like if the people voted, do our police officers get to keep their retirement packages when they're murdering innocent lives unnecessarily? So I think that even if we take it to radio and lessen the video, hypothetically, we should keep in our minds, we need to understand what would happen if, in fact, these police officers don't have this motivation to continue to accept their benefits package, because I believe there's probably an option to decline. But if these police officers are killing people with the know-how on how to kill an innocent person, wearing the colors of the state, and receive their benefits, when in fact they did not have a direct order to kill that person. I think we should campaign so that the community members have the right to vote about that. A political campaign. It could be something that people could speculate using audio visuals as a project.
Thank you. Let's clap him up. Mr. Van.
Okay, this is just way too coincidental. Oh my God. So on Saturday, I'm listening to this PR campaign, and I'm like, if the police thought, looking at these young folks, that how would they want to have their own child treated in that same situation? They don't have a relationship to relationships. They're just trying to keep their job. So if I was looking at you like you was my daughter, you kind of remind me of anyhow, then I would be like, I couldn't treat you that bad. You just couldn't do it. You'd be like, okay, I know you're being a jerk, but you can't be doing that kind of stuff. It would be so much less murder if they just put that into the mindset of the police in their training, number one. Number two, I was thinking, okay, you know what used to really, really work was boycotting. So let's boycott restaurants, subways, whatever it is that we could boycott, because that way they be like, okay, these black folks say we losing money. Okay, maybe we should talk to them. That used to work back then. I think it can work today if we can figure out how to do that, okay? But the reason why I say this is such a coincidence, listen to this conversation, because just before I came here, I went to Barnes & Noble to buy some books. And what's the name of this book? Branding for Dummies. And what I'm hearing here is a conversation about creating a brand message like Nike and Adobe and all of this other stuff, where every time somebody hears the name or sees our colors, they think, okay, no, stop doing that. So listen, I suck at marketing and branding. But if somebody was here that actually could know how to do this, create a marketing campaign team, a board of directors or whatever, and then it could teach everybody in every department how to create brand messages that make people be addicted to doing the right thing. And that's why I'm like, I could have said this 2 hours ago because I didn't have this book then. So that's what I got to say. I'm complete.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's welcome.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah. So, yes. I think what would help, I don't know if everyone knows, but to become a New York State Assembly person or a senator, all you have to be is 18 years old. So I would say we rally around someone in our youth huddle, we elevate them, and we support their campaign. And this will be on your agenda.
I like that. You got that, Trees? You got them notes? Come on.
All right, that was my answer. To select somebody here so that we could campaign around, and I've actually identified the policies that we need to be focusing on. So Justice for the Justice and Police Act is an act, which is a federal bill aimed at reforming U.S. police departments by cracking down on controversial tactics. The three bills that need to be combined with those and added into your campaign would be the Andrew Cares Act, which is accountability for denial of medical attention, which happened in my father's case, Tyree Nickel case, and every other case listed. The next one is the Grieving Families Act, which provides for the types of damages that may be awarded. Young person said, if we're going after their pockets, it would be different. So the Justice and Police Act, the Andrew Cares Act, and the Grieving Families Act, and the last one is STEPS, Safety and Equality Act. This is something that was passed, I believe, in Detroit. I will get the rest of it. And it will limit traffic stops that results in racial disparities. So those are the bills that need to be focused on when you guys are doing your campaign. I've known, you guys know, I do campaigns all the time. I do petitions. Yeah, I'm here for everything. That's why I gave y'all the bills. So those are the bills that y'all need to be focused on. So Justice and Policing, Grieving Families Act, Safety and Equity, and Andrew Cares Act. And those are the most important acts, and my idea that I came up with was merging all three acts, because that's what was effective for me with getting the Eric Garner law passed, which was merging three acts of three political actions, so that way they don't have no choice but to vote on it because it comes from every angle. So if you guys want to take it a step further, there are more bills that help us as people who have suffered police violence and not get any accountability or justice. So Patrice has those. I'm going to send her over those, and we will be coming back with some more stuff. So just let me know if y'all need some policies and stuff, because that's what I'm looking for.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for your answers to the question. And I'm looking forward to meeting your content creating friends. Thank you, Giselle.
Thank you, Ash. So next for our second Did You Know segment, I would like to call up Miss Dominique Sharpton. Clap it up for Miss Dominique. Kitty's keeping us occupied.
All right, y'all. So who's heard about the fact that Trump may be going to jail? Yes. Well, we want to put the city on notice for those of you young people, just to be aware of the process. So we hosted a debate right here, hosted by National Action Network's Youth Huddle, featuring candidates for Manhattan District Attorney, one of which was Alvin Bragg, who became the first black district attorney in the borough of Manhattan. They had their debate right here at the House of Justice during a Monday evening during a NAN Youth Huddle meeting. And Alvin Bragg, many of y'all know, Ashley and I personally endorsed him. He ended up winning, and he is now acting and serving as the first black district attorney for the borough of Manhattan. And with that said, this investigation on Trump, kind of fell in his lap. And he's been dealing with a lot of flack, a lot of really a negative press, negative media, attacks, threats on his life. It's been really, really rough for Alvin Bragg. However, Alvin is a part of a community. He's a part of our family, and we are not going to allow for him to, he's got some thick skin. So we know that Alvin is one who knows how to really fight the good fight. He's been involved in, in the community, and he's been teaching at Abyssinian as a Sunday school teacher. He's very involved in the community. And so he's got, he's got his stripes. He's won his stripes, and he's one of our soldiers in our community. And so we are not going to allow for Trump's and instigators, to bully him or his office or administration. And we just want to put y'all on notice. The city is going to experience a lot of protests and demonstrations. We've been getting emails from Republican Party, who are planning demonstrations against Alvin Bragg, against his office, in favor and in support of Donald Trump. Now, we don't know the situation, how it's going to play out. Donald Trump may have to come here to surrender or to answer some questions as relates to the investigation, and as grand jurors are being convened on this very matter of if he's going to actually have to surrender and be indicted on these charges. So, want to definitely make sure that young people are involved and aware of what's happening. But also, what do y'all think? Do y'all think that we should be rallying support, demonstrations in support of Alvin Bragg? Do you feel like it's even necessary for us to physically be out there vocal about supporting Alvin Bragg, or should we just let the man do his job? What do you think? What did you say? She said that the protest that I'm referring to, they also asked if we would be in support of what? I can't understand what you're saying. Could you?
So I think that we should support the man because he's the first black attorney. I don't know, but I forgot what he was, but he's the first black district attorney. So I think we should support him because there's been many district attorneys that have not been men of colors, and I think that we should support him. Just get out there.
Hi, God bless y'all. How y'all doing? I'm so glad we're here together. My answer is he already has our support. This is the reality. He's a Manhattan district attorney. We have to understand is actually a public official position. We do not have to demonstrate our support for any district attorney, particularly Alvin Bragg knows he has our support and prayers and all that. I believe that District Attorney Alvin Bragg knows that we should stay in our position and maintain our prayers, which are very, very powerful. It's a very highly potential, volatile situation. We do not need to be out there. So let's do our part. He already knows that, we got him. Whenever they show him on the news, the background of this place is right behind him. So he knows we got him covered. We also know that he has the law on his side and the Lord, God Almighty, on his side. He's doing a great work, and he's staying within the boundaries of the law. So he doesn't need us to be out there, speaking for him. He's doing his job. I personally campaigned for him because I knew we needed an ethical district attorney. We've had corrupt district attorneys from as far as I can remember, even before I even started remembering anything. So he's a man of valor, and he's professional, and he's going to do what's necessary to indict Trump, because that is in the works. And he, like he said, he's here to do his job. It may be a new thing for a lot of people to realize with district attorneys, but this man is real. And I thank God for him. God bless you all.
Anybody else? All right, I just wanted to just iterate that Alvin Bragg's office has been involved in responding to certain threats and things in the media that have come out. And Alvin Bragg basically released a memo on Saturday and said that his office of 1,600 employees are working with the court officers and New York City Police to ensure that everyone remains safe. That is his priority, and that any specific or credible threats against his office will be investigated. So as Sister Word said, he ain't scared. He ain't scared. And we know he knows that we have his back, and we're gonna be, of course, everyone's gonna be watching what's going on with Trump, but watch what's going on around you. Demonstrations, people that are angry, full of hatred, because of certain things that are happening, and we just have to be aware. And as Alvin Bragg said, we got to make sure we all stay safe. So be careful out there, y'all.
Thank you. So next for our third Did You Know segment, I have Patrice. Clap it up for Patrice, y'all. So there's gonna be a video playing first before Patrice comes up. Everybody pay attention.
They need for change to find.
The government failure to put gun control laws and real resources in place have created a public health crisis.
A Brooklyn community trying to heal after 4 people are shot. The one thing they say they need for change to finally happen. Welcome back. I'm Christine Johnson.
I'm Maurice Dubois. The gunman who killed a man and injured 3 others in East Flatbush last weekend is still out there.
And today, community leaders came together to plead for resources they say can make a difference. CBS 2's Doug Williams has their story.
We are standing steps away from the site of a mass shooting.
New York State Assemblywoman Monique Chandler Waterman addressed a crowd today in East Flatbush and introduced new legislation about mass shootings after a man was killed and 4 people were shot in broad daylight last Saturday afternoon.
When it happens in any affluent community that already have resources, they get more resources on top of that. We're demanding for resources for our community.
Of the 4 people shot on Saturday, 1 man was killed, 39-year-old Emmanuel Sore. It happened inside an unsanctioned social club after an argument. Beyond that, police have no indication of motive and no arrests have been made.
Some people want to talk about why, where, what happened. Someone was shot. Someone was murdered. A human being. That's it.
The legislation is meant to automatically provide mass shooting resources at the state and local level after shootings involving 4 or more victims.
We have to call it a mass shooting, because when people think of mass shootings, they usually think a lot of white Americans being killed. But there was a mass shooting, and our black lives are just as important.
Yes.
The word mass shooting comes with resources, it comes with attention. And we are trying to tell you that daily, black and brown bodies are dropping from gun violence.
After the press conference this afternoon, the Assemblywoman, as you can see behind me, went door to door here in East Flatbush to talk about the task forces and upcoming legislation.
We're not asking for permission. Please get resources. Kick down the door. We need resources.
In East Flatbush, Brooklyn, Doug Williams, CBS 2 News.
Valley Bank is committed.
Now, Patrice, after the lights come on.
Lawmakers propose new legislation after 1 killed, 3 wounded in East Flatbush mass shooting. And as Waterman just said, a mass shooting is 4 people or more, and that's considered to be a mass shooting. Police are still searching for a suspect in last week's deadly shooting in East Flatbush, Brooklyn. Local lawmakers and members of the community held a press conference Friday to introduce new legislation. Waterman addressed the crowd in East Flatbush and introduced new legislation about mass shootings after a man was killed and 3 other people were wounded in broad daylight shooting on a Saturday afternoon. Some people want to talk about why, where, what happened. Someone was shot. Someone was murdered, a human being. That's it, Chandler Waterman said. We have to call it a mass shooting because when people think of mass shootings, they usually think a lot of white Americans being killed. But there was a mass shooting, and our black lives are just as important. The word mass shooting comes with resources, and it comes with attention. And we're trying to tell you that daily, black and brown bodies are dropping from gun violence, Williams said. We're not asking for permission. Please get resources. Kick down the door. We need resources, from Chandler Waterman said. Now, as she said in the post, we think of mass shootings as a white guy goes into a school and shoots 100 people, right? That's what you consider mass shooting. But we realize that when you say a mass shooting, that means that you're able to get more resources for that community. So being that this is right here in Brooklyn, do you believe it should be called a mass shooting? Come up and tell me why. And what do you think we could do nationally about it, making them hear us? You know, I know she was out there screaming, but we got to do a little bit more than that for them to hear us, that black lives are dying daily. So tell us what your thoughts are.
I think that we should, wait, what's the question again?
Because they said that 4 people or more is considered a mass shooting, do you believe, and once it's a mass shooting in a neighborhood, they give you the resources, meaning they'll give you more police, they'll give you more funding to get programs into the neighborhood. What do you think should be done in this right here in Brooklyn?
Since they already have the police involved, get more police involved, because if it's 4 people or more getting murdered and you're thinking of a white person, that is just straight up wrong, because you don't know if they're black, brown, African American, you don't know if they're white, you don't know if they're Jewish, you don't know any of that. You just know that was a mass shooting. So I think that they should get the correct resources, and they should get other people involved other than just the police.
And for this one, we do know that they are black. And thank you, Kaylee, from the minds of our young people.
Yeah, when I think of mass shooting, I wouldn't have thought of the little number. But now that it's been clarified, it could even be considered a mass attempt shooting because there's literally hundreds of people in that place. So it could have been more people who could have been shot. So just the fact that it had lots and lots of people, masses and masses of people, the potential for mass shootings is obvious. Now, when they said that the person has not been caught. And the one thing that I thought of, if it was a social club, how come they didn't have cameras? So I hear this person asking for resources, but I think the community has to be more responsible also, which means if they have public venues, there should be cameras in those venues. I even thought about even McNominus, or if that's what it's called, to have people walk through to check for metal. So I think the people in the community have to be more responsible in using available resources to also do their part in attempting to protect the public. Now, in terms of resources, I didn't know what she was talking about, so she didn't really clarify. So I can't really guess what she means in terms of resources. So if it means more police officers, all right, I mean, that may work. But I think these places of business where they do have these social gatherings, which we have a right to socially gather, but they need to take more responsibility, have more security within their own organization, more cameras, because they should have been able to see when that person entered, when that person left, the whole situation. So I don't think it was like maybe a hole in the wall type of a social club. And don't go to those places. If it's really that, really unequipped, don't go. Because they're not doing their best to protect people who pay to go to their venue, so it's not worth it. Thank you. Good day.
Thank you, Word. Come on, sis.
I was raised in Brooklyn, and I think because so many white people are coming into the area, that this is why this even an issue, because as we know, Brooklyn's been called do or die Brooklyn, it's been called Crooklyn. People have been dying in Brooklyn all the time. But what has changed is that white people are moving in that area now, and that elected official wants to keep their job. So the white people are pressuring her so they can be safe in the neighborhood, because everybody knows that there's been mass shootings in that part of Brooklyn all the time. I used to work in the school system. They would shoot people in daylight at the corner store, and the school would have to go on lockdown. The children are constantly traumatized in those areas, and nobody has cared. But now that the white people are coming in, let's not forget that. That has been a populated place of brown and black people. It is no longer completely populated by brown and black people anymore. And the only reason that they have an idea to say 4 people or more is mass shootings is because white people are fearful in the neighborhood.
Okay, so I'm gonna address something that you stated because I know Monique Chandler Waterman. Monique Chandler Waterman is not a bought out elected official. She was in the community, she's been working in the community, asking for resources in Brooklyn for years. She put her life on the line, her kids are outside, they've occupied the corners with us in Brooklyn. She's been asking for resources for a decade. And what I will say is that there's a political fight happening, if I may say, with the crisis management system. So I don't know if y'all are aware with what the New York City crisis management system is or what the cure violence system is in New York City. But there's basically cure violence groups that do the work. Some of them are funded by New York City. Some people get millions of dollars to basically stop violence in the community, and they have to provide facts about basically the statistics about the numbers, right? So across the street, everybody knows Aisha Sekou. She started right here sitting right there at that desk. And now she's expanding. She's funded by the city. She has 4 offices, and she does work. But basically, what she's responsible for is stopping gun violence in this area. So if there's an issue in this area, and y'all see she has 4 offices, and gun violence isn't getting stopped, then that's on us to say, why is she getting funded if she's stopping violence? If she's supposed to be stopping violence? Now, we can't blame that completely on CMS because they're there to help cure it. But the problem is just like the officers. Officers are paid. The reason why we stop and fight to end police brutality is because we paid you. Y'all are paid to stop violence, to help protect us. So if we are fighting, and I can personally say because of the National Action Network that the New York City Crisis Management System exists. The only reason it started right here, Quinn was on this stage, Speaker Quinn was on this stage, and Erica Ford was right here and called out Speaker Quinn right here on this stage and asked her about her budget. She was the speaker currently for New York City. So that is where the entire idea of a budget for funding people that are not trained and necessarily by, like police are, but necessarily they come from Second Chance or they work in the streets or they know how to deal, they feel closer to the violence because they're former violence, creators. So they call themselves violence interrupters, VIPs, the VIP coalition. You see the cars, they bring the orange cars out during Gun Violence Week, and they're supposed to basically be stopping violence in the communities. Now, why I'm even bringing this up is some of them do their jobs. Some of them are efficient, but some are not. And I feel like there needs to be more, not just accountability, but there should be not a credit. But what happens when they basically comb the accounts? No, audit. So there should be more oversight, more of an auditing for as far as if you're getting millions of dollars to make sure that you're actually stopping that violence. If you got that car to stop violence, what did that car actually do to impact the community that it's in besides just attracting people to take pictures in front of it? So my point is that we saw Monique Chandler Waterman. Part of Monique Chandler Waterman's problem is she did not get funded from the Cure Violence when she was doing the work in New York City. So right now there's a fight and people are getting killed around it. Why I'm saying that is there's a political fight happening in Brooklyn. They're fighting over money to stop violence, but still people are dying. So there's a whole bunch of infighting, and now because some people are elected, they can have press conferences and do certain things to bring issues, to bring basically light around it. But don't get lost in what she's saying. And I'm only bringing it up because the sister came up and talked about some elected officials are bought out. Some elected officials do exactly what you're saying. But I don't want you to get confused. She's not. Monique Chandler Waterman is sincere. But she is a part of the political infighting that's happening with people that are getting funded by New York City. You understand what I'm saying? So I wanted us to understand it for those. I know some of you, we probably got some lost with the kids with this, as far as the political infighting, but it's important for you to understand. If they are not funded, that's the resources she was screaming about, word. She was basically saying they need funding to basically pay people to be outside on those corners that are ignored. They need funding to basically get to do the gun buybacks in their neighborhood with the cops. They need more funding in the neighborhood because basically those parts of Brooklyn are ignored. And that I agree with you. With Crooklyn, Do or Die, Best Die, those parts of Brooklyn are ignored. And I personally, I call Eric Adams, the mayor, Uncle Eric. I helped him get elected because I believed in him. But I do feel like you're from Brooklyn Borough President, you was there, you know exactly where those parts of Brooklyn are ignored. So there should be some kind of special unit focused on it. A.T. Mitchell was elected as the czar. So I think that we need to come back to the table with those who are actually in those neighborhoods or those working in those systems and stop just dealing with the ones that are on record to do the work, but also deal with those who are outside in those communities that can go outside and say if somebody had a gun. Like, I think this issue, they said it was like an off spot. The problem was it was like an undercover spot. People in the hood, like people in the community, if you know the community, you know where the undercover spots are. So obviously you're employing the wrong people or y'all are getting paid off too. And cops are paid off. So we don't need you to do the same thing that the cops are doing. That's all I'm saying.
Thank you so much. And to wrap up my Did You Know? Come on, parents. Y'all know them kids got them guns in them closets. Go in their closets, clean out their closets once a week. They got them guns in your house. Y'all know. We need y'all to get them out of your house. Report them, turn it in, turn the guns in. Those guns are in your kids' closets. Come on, start searching houses like parents used to do back in the day. And that wraps up my Did You Know? Thank you.
Thank you, Patrice. For our fourth Did You Know, I would like to call up Miss Emerald Garner. Clap it up for Miss Emerald.
Good evening, good evening. Make sure my phone is silent. Family's fury as a man found beheaded and mutilated, but police rule it out of foul play. The family of a man who was found dead is calling for the federal probe into his death. arguing that the police explanation that there was no foul play does not hold water. A recent released independent autopsy report on Rashawn Carter's body found that he had been decapitated, pointing to a gruesome murder. Sorry, these words are a little, so please bear with me. He had previously reported that he was targeted by a group of white men who followed him shouting racial slurs. His family are now urging the U.S. Department of Justice to open up a federal investigation into his death. During a press conference, attorney Ben Crump stated that this was not a natural killing. This is not a natural death. This represents a young man who was killed. The family is seeking justice for Carter, who wants they want those responsible in his death to be held accountable. Sorry. The autopsy also indicated that fractures to Carter's bones, but did not detail how clean the breaks were. The report also did not provide conclusive evidence regarding the claims of genital mutilization, as the medical examiner only received bones. The attorney stated that the skull contained no teeth, but the family's private investigator made disturbing allegations, including the Carter's bones were broken in smooth cuts, possibly inconsistent with an animal attack, and that's what I don't want to read that last sentence, sorry. His genitals were not found on the body. These allegations were not confirmed by the autopsy report. Attorney Ben Crump called for the United States Department of Justice to open federal investigation into Carter's death. The Mississippi Bureau of Investigation assists in the investigation of Carter's death. The investigation continues with some of Carter's body parts still missing. This doesn't seem like an act of just one individual, Crump said during a press conference. It kind of lines up with what Tiffany said. There was a lynching mob, 3 trucks chasing the son before he went missing. Rasheem Carter, a black man from Mississippi, claimed that he was being targeted by white men in his community. And only days after he disclosed the troubling situation to his mother, he went missing in October of 2022. Carter was allegedly followed and harassed before he was found in a wooded area near Taylorstown, Mississippi. His family is skeptical of law enforcement's handling of the case and has hired a private investigator who has made some disturbing allegations, including possibility of genital mutilation. She heard him tell the officers that he was being followed and asked to ride in the back to his hotel in Laurel, but the officer refused because Laurel was out of the jurisdiction. She heard someone say that he couldn't stay at the station and that he needed to leave. Tiffany Carter does not believe the sheriff's explanation of what happened to her son. That her son wandered onto someone's land and died. When Carter's body was found, the Smith County Sheriff's officials initially say that there was no reason to believe foul play in this incident that involved his death. A claim the family is denouncing. The independent autopsy revealed that Carter's head was severed from his body and his spinal cord recovered in a separate area from his head. The medical examiner ruled that the cause and manner of death could not be determined due to the condition of the remains. And at the time of the autopsy and the signs of animal activity on the remains. This was hard, very hard. What it brings up is, Emmett Till. That's what it brings up for me. I don't know what it brings up for you, but they're basically telling the family that he wandered onto somebody's land and they don't know what happened. Impossible. So we need to know what we can do about this. We talked about mobilizing. We talked about young people stepping up. We talked about, all of the stuff that's happening, Tyree Nichols, and all of the other people, all of the loved ones that were lost. And rest in peace to those, and I'm sending love and light to the family. But what needs to be done? We know that we talked about policing, we talked about policies, we talked about legislation, but for something like this that happens, what do we do? What does the community do? We could send prayers and condolences, we could send that all day. But what needs to be done? Something has to be done. I have an idea, but I'm gonna save my ideas for last.
What needs to be done is the creation or implementation of some sort of emergency evacuation resource for people in rural America, such as the place that you mentioned. I believe you said it was Mississippi, and all throughout the United States. But I'm highlighting Mississippi with this case example because if this young person would have had any supportive evidence to his claim that he was fearful for his life because he was being tailgated or followed, whatever the proper word would be, it's important for us to understand that this man did cry out for help. He may have cried out for help to an extension that did not have resources for him to fully evacuate safely in the state of emergency. If it is true that he may not have had supported evidence to support his claim that he was being followed, there should be resources for people. These resources should be easily accessible. They should be made aware that these resources exist so that we can save these young lives, so that we can save these lives. Whether it's a 101-year-old black person, a 1-year-old person, no matter the color of their skin, it's important for us to understand that this man allegedly reached out to his family and voiced his concern about him fearing for his life, so it seems. So I feel as though it's important for us to understand how we can utilize emergency funds for emergency evacuations domestically. The other aspect of what I wanted to introduce into the conversation has to do with identifying who these predators are, monitoring who these predators actually are, where they reside, how they conduct themselves, so that we could, in advance, address these issues before they become post-morbid, before they become retroactive to the extent that we're burying someone. We're now eulogizing someone. Family members are now traumatized because they didn't have the resources to evacuate their family member, because they didn't know who the bullies were. They didn't know exactly whom was targeting this now deceased individual.
Anybody else? Anybody else? Okay, well, my suggestion, we always talk about protesting and, sending love and light to the family. And I'm pretty sure, like me, they sick of condolences and they need some action. So I do think that reaching out to the organizations that are closest, because National Action Network has a chapter in Mississippi, we need to be reaching out to them with our ideas and go to them with real ideas. So we have one suggestion. So we need to send a list and send out an email to the NAN chapter in Mississippi and get mobilizing. We need to figure out where was the disconnect. If they're saying that he was asking for a ride and didn't get one, what was the barrier? Why couldn't he get back to his hotel? What was the issue in someone giving him a ride back to the hotel? And like Dan said, if we need to have rapid response funds, where do you go for those rapid response funds? A lot of organizations get a lot of money and they don't do nothing for the community. So we need to be calling out those organizations because it's public record how much money goes into an organization, and it should be public record about what you're doing with the funds, not only in the IRS audit. We should be calling out these organizations before the IRS come and put the shackles on them, because maybe we can save them. They're misappropriating funds. We can show them how to use that money. So that is my suggestion. Anybody else? Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't see y'all.
Okay, in listening to her read the article, when I heard Attorney Crump is involved, it's a done deal. They're going to do more than what they expected to do. So I don't believe there's anything that we particularly need to do because Attorney Crump is now involved. The fact that this case has now been brought to his attention, he's a lawyer, and he's a civil rights lawyer. So he's going to demand a lot of professionalism from these sheriffs and whomever else has access to even get an understanding of If this young man made an allegation that these vehicles were following him, there's cameras on the highway. So there's ways to check. And I'm not even really a lawyer in that way, but I have good sense. So that's what I initially thought of. So now that Attorney Crump is involved, they're going to do what they're supposed to do reluctantly, but he's in for it. You know, he knows it's a marathon, so he's going to deal with them. He's going to make sure that attention is brought to Mississippi, which they really don't like the attention, but he's going to make sure the attention is there. And when it comes to these particular situations, we're in New York, but I really, really, truly believe that wherever these incidences are happening, the people in those areas, they are demonstrating regularly. They're protesting regularly. It's just not getting worldwide news coverage. But a lot of people in areas where these are happening, they're not really sitting down and letting things go by. Those days are over, literally over. A lot of people are involved. We may not know because we're in New York. So we don't really need to really believe we have to take on the burden because we're in New York. People have learned, particularly from National Action Network, which is located in just about every state in the United States. If not, they watch and they pick up. There hasn't been one demonstration that I've seen anywhere where someone is not saying no justice, no peace. That's right. We have really been a good example for people, and they know how to stay involved. So locally, they're getting fever. Trust and believe that. And we can also support them by the local chapters. They're involved too. They're doing their job too. There's a lot of unification on this because right now you could tell, and it's a really strange thing to say, but because they're getting more dangerous, that means we're on their case even more, if that makes any sense to you. You know, it's like they're really getting more angrier. But we're going to deal with the anger too. But we're going to deal with the anger in a righteous manner, and therefore we're going to be more victorious. So that's the real deal. This young man, he's in heaven now. God bless his soul. So we have to make sure that this wasn't a death in vain. And obviously when Crump gets involved, they're going to be checked, for real.
Thank you, thank you. I appreciate you. And I just want to pause because we know that Benjamin Crump, Attorney Benjamin Crump is our guy. Reverend Sharpton, they're our guys. But y'all gotta understand that these are one people. So I don't agree with us just sitting down doing us. They're taking care of the masses. We gotta take care of the micro right now. So I do believe that Benjamin Crump is gonna make it happen, but I don't think that that should stop us from doing the things that we should do to support Benjamin Crump, because we can't be right there with him, but we can support in other ways, and we know that there's strength in numbers. So I just wanted to pause and say that, because I know a lot of people look at Reverend Sharpton, look at Benjamin Crump like, oh, everything stops there. But no, there's still work needs to be done, and we need to make sure that we're diligent in that. The last two, wrap it up. We gotta dismiss these kids. You know, my kids got school tomorrow. You know how this go.
Yes, I do.
20 seconds.
Okay, so I just realized in this conversation that Legal Shield, which y'all probably heard of, they have an app on their phone where if you get pulled over by the police, they can press a button and instantly talk to a lawyer. But what I realize is that what they can do, and since I'm a member, I could talk to them about it. How about if they put on a button on their phone where something happens, you press that button, it automatically records everything that's happening right then and there, and it goes straight to the law firm. Forget about the police. I'm going to talk to them about making that happen, because if we could do that and put it on everybody's phone, and maybe it'd be a member, you know, a service for NAN. I don't know, but I'm going to talk to them about that, because I just can see how that can take care of us no matter where we're located. I'm complete.
Absolutely. Thank you. We need more apps. We need more apps.
What I think should happen is, for all vehicles, like cars, trucks, even garbage trucks, I feel like they should have like at least like a camera in the back, just in case anything happens, or like what happened on the topic. Like if you're getting followed by anybody, you have proof and you can show it to the police or anything just in case. So, yeah.
Thank you. From the mouth of our young people. So this wraps up this segment. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can email, and your comments will be taken into consideration. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you, Miss Garner. Okay, thank you. So the fifth Did You Know segment, almost last, I won't take too much of your time, is mine. So we have Florida considers ban on discussion of menstruation before 6th grade. Let's talk about it. Florida considers ban on discussion of menstruation before 6th grade. Florida lawmakers are considering a draft law to strengthen state control over sex education that its sponsor says would ban any instruction in schools about menstrual cycles before the 6th grade. The proposal comes as Florida's Republican-dominated legislature, backed by Governor Ron DeSantis, has already passed a raft of laws limiting discussion in schools of gender and sexuality and reducing the emphasis on diversity in public schools. The latest proposal from Republican Stan McClain would allow instruction in acquired immune deficiency syndrome, sexually transmitted disease, or health education, only in grades 6 through 12, generally meaning for children aged 12 to 18. McClain confirmed at a recent committee meeting that discussions about menstrual cycles will also be restricted to those grades. Girls typically have their first periods between the ages of 10 and 15, but some do as young as 9. Imagine a little girl in the 4th grade going to the bathroom and finding blood in her panties and thinking that she is dying. State Representative Ashley Gant, a Democrat, said in a video posted on Instagram. She doesn't actually know what's going on, and her teacher does not even have the ability to tell her that this is a part of her life. So if little girls experience their menstrual cycle in 5th grade or 4th grade, will that prohibit conversations from them since they're in the grade lower than the 6th grade? Asked Gant. It would, McClain responded. He defended the bill as a way to make sex education more uniform statewide and give parents more leverage over curriculum, and later he said he was gonna be open to amending it. Media reports said the bill passed the subcommittee by 13 votes to 5. Planned Parenthood decried the legislation, saying it would take total control from local school districts in approving sex ed curriculum and give it to the state of Department of Education, while presenting a reductive and binary view of sex and stigmatizing LGBTQ students. The policy and political director of the Florida Alliance of Planned Parenthood affiliates, Ann Filkowski, condemned the legislation as absurd. This bill shines a bright light on Florida's political leaders' perpetual thirst for power, she said in a statement, calling it ridiculous to ban young students from discussing periods with their teachers. DeSantis, who is seen as the leading rival to Donald Trump for the 2024 Republican presidential nomination, has framed such laws as common sense pushback to excesses prompted by progressive activism. But critics say conservative legislators in Florida and elsewhere are trying to impose their own values on others while curbing free speech rights and preventing students from having a well-rounded education. So that concludes my Did You Know? Very short, simple, and informative. So my question to you is so simple. Do you think that this is important to ban? Because in my view, and I'll take like 3 or 4 speakers, in my view, I feel like kids should know about their bodies, and I feel like they have the right to know. Even though they're young, females do experience, a lot of things at a young age, and especially in the new generation, like, kids are evolving very quickly. Their bodies are aging very quickly, and I feel like it's not important to ban this just because a kid may find it or somebody may find it inappropriate. It's not really inappropriate, it's educational. And I feel like maybe if it was taught in a different way, it may not be so deemed as inappropriate, but I don't think that they should ban this. But if anybody else wants to come up and say their thoughts, the question is it important to ban this? Ooh. okay. We didn't want you here anyways. Let me stop.
It's important to ban it if they're going to go with the LGBT agenda because boys cannot have the period. So since they're trying to continue to be an acceptance of that community, they can't talk about things that they can't pretend that they have. So, of course, they want to ban that. But I had my period at the age of 9, and my mother did not tell me about it because she thought that I was going to get it older. So, it's a reality that females experience, you know, naturally born females. So since they don't want to talk about that kind of thing, of course they want to ban it because it's a natural female issue which separates a female from a male, which is a reality. And the school doesn't want to do that, such as, you know, that's how it is. So of course, that has to be supported if you support the LGBTQIA plus whatever community.
Okay, so I agree. However, I feel like it's not only about female menstrual cycle. Sex ed is not. I took sex ed in 6th grade, so it wasn't only about female menstrual cycle. It was actually about, you know, ovulate. Like, you know, it wasn't only about ovulation. It was also about sexually transmitted diseases, which you can get from a male. It talks about the female and male anatomy, which is important. And also, I think it's important for a male to know about female ovulation because that's one of the most common things that we should all know because that is how we are made, we are created. So, next person, if nobody else comes up, this will be the last. Minimal.
Yes. 2 things real quick. 1, education is expensive, but not as expensive as ignorance. Knowing what's going on is so important that it just don't make no sense to not know. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, God had a real good idea creating y'all women. And everybody knowing how to work with that is super important. So my thing is, anybody's going to judge people, judge women, judge this whole thing, they're saying that God is stupid. I'm not agreeing with that. I'm done.
Okay, that was the last comment.
Change it to health education, not sex education. Change the title to health education. Yes, that is respect. That's all I want to say. That's all I want to say.
Last, did you know? Mo Bars.
What's up, y'all? This one is is an ugly one. Shortly after 7 deputies were arrested, 3 hospital employees now charged in inmates' alleged murder. So before I read it, if you were here Saturday, Rev spoke on it, and he'll actually be speaking at the funeral of this young man. A young man was smothered by 7 cops, and they're currently all behind bars, and they just arrested another 3 hospital employees. So I'm gonna get into it and break it down. Authorities charged 3 new suspects after an inmate died at a mental hospital. Darian M. Blackwell, 23, Wavy Jones, 34, and Cedarius Williams, 27, now former staffers of the Central State Hospital. Each face a count of second-degree murder, according to WTVR on Thursday. This follows shortly after state cops in Virginia arrested 7 Henrico County deputies on the same charge. Authorities claim all 10 defendants are responsible for Ervo Otinho, 28, dying in custody at the facility on March 6. State police investigators were told he had become combative during the admission process. The Office of the Commonwealth's Attorney for Dinwiddie County said in a statement obtained by Law and Crime, Otinho, who was physically restrained, died during the intake process. His body was transported to the Office of Chief Medical Examiner in Richmond, Virginia, for examination and autopsy. The deputies were identified as Randy Joseph, 57, Dwayne Allen Bramble, 37, Jermaine LeVar Branch, 45, Bradley Thomas Deese, 43, Tabitha Renee Levere, 50, Brandon Edwards Rogers, 48, and Kyle DeJour Sanders, 30. As Henrico County Sheriff and on behalf of our entire office, I extend my deepest sympathies and condolences to the family and friends of Mr. Ervo Otino. Henrico County Sheriff Elisa A. Gregory said in a statement obtained by Law and Crime, the events of March 6 at their core represent a tragedy because Mr. Otino's life was lost. This loss is felt by not only those close to him, but our entire community. The 7 deputies who were transferring custody of Mr. Otino have been placed on administrative leave pending the outcome of the Commonwealth's cases. The Department of Behavioral Health and Development Services and Central State Hospital are fully cooperating with the Virginia State Police in this investigation and are working to ensure that Mr. Otino's family receives information about the tragic events at the hospital. The DBHDS said in a statement to Law and Crime, the 3 hospital staff members who have been charged will be on administrative leave pending the results of the legal proceedings. We will respect the legal process while we and our staff continue to provide important care to the patients at Center State Hospital. Okay, so this individual, of course, he was mentally disturbed. He was in a mental hospital, and he must have had a manic moment, or, you know, they call it manic moment, or he had an outburst during transportation to another facility. So I know this story was very short, but from what it's saying, you know, he got out of control, and those 7 police officers, they basically killed him. And what it seems like, they most likely didn't have the proper training or participated the proper training to take this person down without killing him. So, you know, when it first came out, it was 7 police officers that were charged. Now they're charging 3 hospital members. So I'm more interested in seeing why these 3 hospital members were charged along with these officers. And one of the, you know, allegedly saying that he was smothered. So, you know, one of the ways, I mean, we see what happened with George Floyd and many others about smothering people, purposely sitting on people's backs to where their front and their liver and everything is crushed and they suffocate. You know, this individual seems to be pretty big. I'm going to do some more info and see how, you know, big he was as far as height and size. But a lot of these men, like someone spoke on the Tyree Nichols case, a lot of these men are huge themselves. A couple of them are 200-300-pound men standing about 6'3". So it's a wonder to me how, you know, they couldn't take this man down without taking his life and restraining him. And it's 10 people involved. So one of my questions is, do police have enough adequate training to deal with mentally unstable individuals in this country? What do you think should be changed or what should be added when dealing with the mentally challenged physically? When it comes to dealing with them physically and they have manic moments and they get out of control and not going off of what you see on TV, how do you really feel they should deal with these mentally disturbed individuals in a physical manner? Anybody is welcome to come up and, you know, voice their opinion how they should be dealt with in a physical manner. Nobody? Hold on. Thank you. Yeah. Get up. All right. Swear.
There's always this constant suggestion for training. It's just unnecessary. They don't need training. They need to really be able to cuff someone and put him safely in the vehicle and transport them to jail. Just that simple. So there's no special treatment that a person who's deemed to be mentally ill, according to police officers, they don't even know if a person's mentally ill or not. The person's just reacting to whatever the situation is. But the police officer's job is still the same, regardless of whomever they're dealing with. Handcuff them safely, ankle cuff them if necessary safely, put them in the vehicle safely, transport them safely to jail so they can receive due process. Professionally, they know not to escalate situations. They know not to do that. but they choose to escalate with certain individuals because they have their own biases. When they are that unprofessional, they need to be reprimanded, suspended, and whatever else goes with that violation of their public duty. So it's very simple. And I really, really strongly suggest we stop talking about training. They're already trained. They're already trained. They know what to do. Depending on the individual, they're very selective in what they apply in terms of their training, but they know what's up. So it's another sad situation, and that, according to what I was told, I don't know if it was in this article, the person that they smothered was handcuffed and ankle cuffed. So, and this brother just said these were big police officers, so they certainly could have managed a whole lot better instead of killing the person. So they need to be dealt with, like effectively firing, criminal charges, and incarceration. Thank you.
Okay, so before you answer, let me just throw in there, as far as training, all right, they have training, but the question is it the right training? Is it the proper training? Is it the correct training? And is there a difference of training between mentally disturbed people? Because it was a mental hospital. This wasn't just a regular criminal in the street or criminal at all. He was just mentally disturbed at a mental hospital. So I just wanted you to answer, along with the initial question I have, should the changes in the training be altered, advanced? Like, what do you think should happen? Yes, they put shackles on people and stuff, but I'm sure there's other ways to handle it, because clearly the training that they have now didn't handle it, just like we're trying to get the chokehold off the books, because they were trained to choke people, and look what happens when we choke people. So you can answer the question. Right.
Thank you. Thank you, Mo. So I worked in a psychiatric residentials for over 4 years, and I do not think that the police are trained properly. As a psychiatric employee, we have to get skip trained. It's a totally different training than the police would have. And I do believe that the police looks at people like they are a criminal, so they have a bias immediately. When you are working in a psychiatric facility, the first thing we're supposed to do is tell them our name. And as staff, like you said, 3 people from there, that is suspicious, because we're supposed to be like, "Hi, Mo, how are you doing? What's happening? What's the problem?" We're supposed to immediately try to come to de-escalate the situation. We're supposed to already know the individuals, so we should, like, if maybe they like a song, we're supposed to start singing the song. A lot of them like Michael Jackson, but see, the police and stuff don't want to do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, right away we'd be like, "Eye of the tiger," and then the guy starts singing. You know what I mean? Because we're dealing with a different population. You know, you start snapping or you bring a teddy bear. It's just that kind of population. But a lot of people don't want to do that, especially if they don't respect them. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can say, "Oh my God, did you get your coffee today? Did somebody forget your coffee?" And you talk to them really soft, even if they're screaming. You don't even have to talk, but they're not training the police like that. The police don't want to do that. The police don't, they call, they want to just do what they have to do, deal with a criminal, and that's it. So I do believe that the training has to be done, but still the mental capacity of the person, because a lot of people don't want to respect people like that. Like, you're supposed to say your name, and a lot of times we've seen video where the cops don't even want to say the name. They say, "Excuse me, officer, can I have your ID?" And they're like already acting like they don't have to tell you. Right away, we're supposed to say our name in case the client doesn't know us, and say, "Hi, Mel, how you doing? Like, what's going on? How you," smile, stand a certain way. And the cops right away, they're coming like they're enforcers. We're not supposed to do that. We're supposed to just be like, "Hey, how you doing? What's going on?" Get really, really happy. And a lot of people don't even have that in them. They're not happy. So it's very difficult.
And that's what I was looking for. Thank you. Gino.
I think, to be honest, sometimes police, they don't have their body cams on, and what I searched up online like a few weeks ago, the max of training that police do is 17 weeks, but I don't think that's enough. It should be like at least a good like a good 2-3 months, and they should do background checks on them if they're like, if they have like drugs in their body, or if they do drugs or anything, stuff like that. And if anything, you don't gotta be so rough on a person too. Like, you just put the handcuffs on, and sometimes they will say, oh, the handcuffs is too tight on me. And, you know, sometimes the police, they won't untighten them for the person. So, yeah.
Final thought. Thank you for the information about, I think you said it's called skip training. I'm pretty sure that in law enforcement, like NYPD, LAPD, they probably don't teach it in the detail that you explained it, and that's what I'm asking about training. That's what I mean about training. Like, those officers, should that be mandatory? Just same way people that work in an actual direct psychiatric hospital, should the police officers get that training as well as the training that they already get as officers, like talking to somebody, singing songs, like that's what I mean when I'm asking about training, because we all know whatever they teach in that, what you said, 17 weeks, Gino? 17 weeks of training, we know that's not the end-all, be-all, and it's not enough, and we can tell by what's going on out here. So that concludes my story, and we'll look further into this and discuss it more. Good night.
That was the last one, y'all. So now, closing prayer by yours truly, because it's going to be quick. Everybody bow your heads. If I still see you looking at me, you're not praying to God right now. JT, bow your head. All right, let's get started. Dear God, I hope everybody gets home safely from today's amazing huddle. Dear God, I pray that all opinions are going to be put to use for real. I pray that we be able to join each other every Monday. I pray that everybody here comes to the convention. Most of all, I pray that everybody's health is succeeding. I pray that everybody gets home safely. Amen.